back. This is part two of my reading the airmail article on the Idaho murders. Um, what I did was I basically read for an hour to the whole thing, and I didn't even get to the part that I wanted to tell you guys about. So I'm starting over. This is part two. I honestly don't know if I'm even going to post part one because that's not what I wanted to read. Basically, over the weekend, these two articles came out, and one of them is amazing. It's by this guy named Howard Blum, and it's really, really mind-blowing. It's the detail and everything that he goes over, stuff we didn't know. There's he basically tells everything. I didn't realize that it was 8 parts. I had read this Steve Gonsalves part, and that's the thing that I really want to share with you guys. But I had started from the beginning reading and it's just way too much. I literally was reading for an hour, and I wasn't even close to the part that I wanted to get to you guys. So let me start over. I'm just gonna read the Steve Gonsalves part because this is the part that I actually am a little bit concerned. It's almost in a way, Steve has been the most outspoken of the parents ever since the beginning of the case, and I think he's amazing. I really, I tell you what, if he's the kind of dad that everybody really should have. I mean, the man is not going to give up trying to get justice for his daughter and the other 3 victims. Now, he's sort of doing his own investigation, and I'm a little bit worried about him. I'm a little bit worried that he's going to get himself in trouble, and that he might mess up the case inadvertently. It wouldn't be something that he's trying to do, but, well, I'll explain. I'm not gonna read the whole article. There's some stuff in here about the girl from Chronicles of Olivia. You guys probably know that the Gonsalves family gave an interview to Chronicles of Olivia kind of right at the beginning of all of this because they figured out that Kaylee followed her and was a fan of her true crime page. Or rather true crime channel, and I guess she followed her, I think, on both TikTok and YouTube. And when her parents and her sister were going through her phone information, I don't know if they physically had her phone or if they were just mirroring what was on her phone to see, to read everything, to see everything that she was going through, so that they could give the cops any kind of information that they came across that they may not know. So anyway, the stuff about Olivia, that's not important, I don't think. I mean, like I said, I'm gonna leave a link to this whole thing in the description box of the video, so if you guys want to go and read everything for yourselves, have at it. It's really, really long. There's I think maybe 8 different parts, and it's really good, really informative. One of the best articles that's come out, I think, since it's happened. And then there's another article that came out over the weekend, which is the complete opposite. The guy is word vomit. Everything in the fucking article is it's just really badly written. He's just some Irish guy, and the article's in Newsweek, and I can't believe Newsweek would put that out because it's garbage. This stuff, the guy's getting facts wrong, straight up. He says that, and because I only heard about it. I didn't sit there and read it at first. I heard about it on a different YouTube channel. They said that they found blood at the crime scene, and I'm wait, why don't we know this? What? Brian's blood. That's what they said. And I'm what? When did that happen? Because I read the probable cause affidavit. If they found his blood in the crime scene, it would have been in the probable cause, and they didn't. What the guy says is he says that on the knife sheath that the DNA under the snap was a drop of blood, which no, it wasn't. It was touch DNA, and it was minuscule, and it was to this day, I'm wondering how they managed to test it, because it was apparently so small on the snap on the inside of, you know, the knife sheath. My Halloween nails are back. I got the Scream Ghostface guy from Scream and his bloody knife. And I got skeletons in my ears. And on my shirt is a skull. Because I love October and I love Halloween. Alright, so what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to go over this stuff in the Airmail article about Steve. And then I'm going to read you this ridiculous Newsweek article. And I'll include the links for both in the description. Oh, the Airmail thing, if you want to read it, when you go on the site, it's going to require an email address, possibly even a credit card, because you get a month free, but they want you to subscribe to read it. And it's worth the read. But what I would recommend, because what I did is I just signed up for the free trial, and I'm going to cancel. Because it's like $80. Who the fuck's going to pay that for some random shit? Like, that's more than like a channel on television. Ridiculous. Okay. So, what I wanted to read to you, the part starts off with this other missing person in Idaho. This elderly lady named Sharon Archer. She was like a Alzheimer's kind of situation where she kind of like left her house and disappeared. Well, Kaylee thought that she saw her at Walmart, and she actually called the tip line, and she, you know, went to the website and filled out the, you know, the tip and everything. She tried to help, and it actually didn't turn out to be her, and the lady did get, like, her body was found like a year later. Actually, it was found like a month after the murders, after Kaylee and her friends were murdered. But it starts off saying, you know, about how Kaylee had, like, she had the bug that we all have, you know, like the true crime. She followed Olivia. She was really into the true crime community, and, you know, that's kind of cool. It's so messed up when that happens, when something like this happens to somebody who's, like, so into, like, so aware of crime and so careful. You know what I mean? Like, even when this first happened, her parents were saying, like, they did everything, those girls did everything right. They were, you know, buddy system. They had that Jack guy walk them to get food. They had a university carpool situation, drive them home because they've been drinking, the whole bit. Like, they really did do everything right. The only thing that they didn't do is lock that slider, because I'm Garrett, like, that sucks, because, well, we all know what happened. Alright, but anyway, it starts off talking about the Sharon Archer case and how Kaylee tried to help. And then it's talking about, you know, how upset Steve was, and, you know, the family, and how he decided that he was gonna solve this case. He because, you know, it was 7 weeks from the time that it happened until Kohberger was arrested, and in those 7 weeks, the cops kept saying, we have nothing, we have nothing, we have nothing. Not even, they were lying, but, you know, to protect the case, but they were also telling the families that they had nothing, and it was driving Steve in particular crazy, because he was not going to let this case go cold, and I don't blame him. So yeah, now it's talking about freaking Chronicles of Olivia. Oh, okay, so it says that Kaylee's family discovered those phone calls to Jack. Did 10 phone calls on the night of, but he didn't answer because he was sleeping, and the Gonsalves family told the police about those phone calls, and then Moscow PD hooked Jack up to a lie detector, administered a DNA swab to compare with the evidence found at the scene, and he passed both examinations with flying colors. And then Steve was not completely convinced, so when Jack came to the Gonsalves' home not long after the events to pay his respects, Steve gravely demanded that the young man submit to the indignity of a physical inspection. Jack promptly rolled up his sleeves, lifted his shirt, exposed his neck, and displayed his hands, both palms up and down, while Steve meticulously searched in vain for a telltale scratch or bruise. But Steve was not done. Caught up in his newfound forensic professionalism, he took photographs documenting Jack's unblemished state. It was exculpatory evidence that would come in handy, he felt, as the authorities proceeded to compile their list of suspects. And with that bit of awkward business out of the way, the two grieving men finally embraced. In the days that followed, Steve tracked down Hunter Johnson, Chapin's frat brother and best friend. That's Ethan's brother. Well, frat brother, not brother. Because, not to be confused, Ethan's brother, he's a triplet, and he has a brother named Hunter as well. And Maisie, I think, is the girl. I can't remember, but I think that's her name. So anyway, he tracked down Hunter Johnson just before noon on November 13th. Johnson had been summoned by the two distraught survivors of the King Road house, where he had discovered Ethan's body. Days later, he gave his eyewitness account to Steve as a soldier might, straightforward, factual, and without either embellishment or emotion. It was only when he finished that the two men, both overwhelmed, at last convulsed into tears. Steve also made a point of knocking on the doors of the houses adjacent to the murder scene and interrogating the neighbors. He was going where he felt he had to go, but his mission had not produced the desired result. Over a month had passed, and there had been no arrests, only vague statements about a missing Hyundai Elantra that had been spotted near the King Road house the night of the murders. The authorities had yet to name a suspect. It was infuriating. The prospect of his daughter's murder becoming one more cold case was torture. But as much as he needed to see a perp being let off in handcuffs, he was also chasing after something else. He needed to know why. Why these kids? Why this house? Why had this nightmare enveloped his family's life? For his own peace of mind, he required a motive. And without this knowledge, nothing in his life from November 13th onward would ever make sense. It was, he'd explained, those currents of frustration and perplexity that pushed him nearly 6 weeks after the murders to double down on his detective's mission. He decided he was done with working quietly on the sidelines. He made up his mind to go public, to proclaim his new ambitious vocation, and ask for help. He would make a public appeal because Steve was certain that even if the police had failed to locate them, there had to be people out there who knew more than they were sharing. People, particularly students with some dodgy antics to hide, might be more willing to whisper secrets to a mourning father than the judgmental police. And with this plan set in his mind and a affirming nod to Kaylee's memory, Steve reached out to Olivia from Chronicles. This talks about the day that her and Bullhorn Betty went to. I don't like her. I'm sorry. I don't mean like as a person. I just don't enjoy her channel. I find her really abrasive and like kind of obnoxious. She's really in people's face, and I just don't like that style of, I don't know, reporting. Like, I'm not going to say anything more about it. I don't want to slander anybody. I just don't particularly like that style of, like, she goes around with Olivia, and I like Olivia. I just don't like Betty. I think she's way too abrasive. So yeah, this just talks about the video that they did with Olivia. So yeah, now they're saying after Bryan was arrested, Steve has found neither resignation nor acceptance. The arrest of a suspect, in fact, has brought not a sense of finality, but only brooding resentments and further nagging questions. For one thing, he remains determined to make sure the authorities have arrested the right man. And while he has grown increasingly convinced that Kohberger was involved in the crime, Steve remains open to the possibility that others might also be involved. According to texts provided to Airmail, it seems to him quite possible that there were more perpetrators in the house on King Road on the night his daughter and her friends were killed. And if there were, they must still be at large. Because remember, there's apparently like 3 male DNA profiles that they had found in the house that they haven't, I don't know if they haven't announced the results of those or if they've not tested them. It would be stupid if they haven't tested them. So I don't know. Maybe there's another person involved and maybe they know that, but they haven't announced it. He's furious that Kohberger's trial, which had been scheduled to start on October 2nd, has been postponed indefinitely. He fears, he complained, that the trial won't occur for many months or even years. And he's particularly incensed by the no-nonsense gag order that severely limits what law enforcement authorities, the lawyers, and the families of the victims can publicly say about the case. It's not just that he deems this is a violation of his fundamental constitutional rights. Rather, the paucity of specific intelligence has created a vacuum that's being filled by rumors, half-truths, and crackpot lies. And once these malignant seeds are planted, they grow tall and wild on the internet. He's definitely right. Steve needs answers, not rumors, and so despite the arrest of a suspect, he has not abandoned his quest. And it's not simply vanity, the belief that one middle-aged guy with only a background in IT can get to the bottom of things. It's fear that propels him, the fear that if he waits passively for the cops finally to share what little they have managed to uncover, it might be too late. The remaining unidentified perpetrators will have gone to ground, and justice will not be secured, nor will he ever get the terrible satisfaction of knowing the whole story. He will never achieve the state of grace that comes, he wants to believe, with understanding a motive. He will never know the answer to the question at the beating heart of the case. Why? I have my theories, and I will tell you guys in a bit. So yeah, it says here... Oh, okay, this is interesting. For the past year, he's plowed on. It's not been easygoing or always fruitful. For one cruel example, early on, an enticing tip came his way, according to the text, from a source he described as a jailhouse snitch. It was a tale that offered to tie up all the loose ends of the case, and spurred on by that promise, both Steve and the private detective he had hired fanned out with their inquiries into several states, energized by the intoxicating possibility that he was on the verge of accomplishing what the professionals had failed to do. But in the bitter end, it was nothing more than an elaborate con, a malicious scheme to squeeze money out of a grieving family's misery. The experience was demoralizing. That's fucked up. And I wonder if that has to do with that, that Demetrius guy that everybody was saying was a drug kingpin or something, and it had all to do with drugs. I don't think it had anything to do with drugs, and that's actually explained a little bit later here. Steve persevered only to be conned again. A grainy light bulb cam video of the King Road residence came his way that proved Kohberger wasn't the lone killer. It was only after he went to some expense and hired a professional videographer to examine the recording that he conceded it was a fake. That's sick. There was a decision to leak... Oh, there was his decision. This is interesting, too. To leak a time-stamped video of another vehicle tearing away from a street adjacent to the murder house just before dawn on the morning of the murders to one of the true crime internet sites. His logic was that it was very possibly game-changing evidence. It needed official scrutiny. But this video, too, was deemed a fake. And in the end, his tangential role in its dissemination became a bit of an embarrassment. Do you guys think that's the Linda Lane stuff? I don't know. It says that Steve leaked a timestamp video of an adjacent street. So what I think of with that is the Linda Lane video. So that came out later on. It showed up on the internet randomly. So Steve could have leaked it. I don't know. That's strange. So anyway, it says Singed Steve came to two unwavering conclusions. One, the internet theories suggesting that a drug ring had been involved in the killings were ludicrous. No pro is going to rough up someone not knowing who all is in the house. He texted a friend. There were, he pointed out, usually only 3 girls in the King Road house. His daughter, who had completed all her coursework and would graduate in January, had only come down to Moscow for the weekend on a whim to show Maddie her new Range Rover. Explained to me how a hitman missed Ethan and Kaylee's new car. A professional would have been daunted by the presence of 2 additional people in the house that night. He's so right. I've never believed that drug nonsense. I mean, I made a video about it a while ago because it was going all around the internet like that. It had some like random drug connection because this girl, Emma, was the girlfriend of this Demetrius guy, and Emma had been seen more than once going into the house. Probably just to go to parties because she lived right up the street and she was, you know, like their age. And I believe that she was selling party favors, which I'm sure that everybody has messed around with here and there. I'm not talking like anything crazy, just probably a little bit of the nose stuff, which a lot of people do when they're drinking. I mean, me, I never liked it. I hate that shit. But other people really like it, so. But it's gonna go later on. It says that there was toxicology and none of the kids was on drugs. As for the rumors of a drug deal gone bad being the underlying motive, Steve had been told by the authorities that the toxicity reports on all 4 of the victims established that they had no drugs in their system. Besides, if they'd wanted to score some pot, there was no need to get involved with a street dealer. The kids, he pointed out, could go down a street and 8 miles there was a store where they could easily make a buy, despite the fact that marijuana remained illegal in Idaho. Christy, his wife, went with them once to check it out. I think maybe in Washington it's legal. You just have to cross the border. Because it says 8 miles. That's about how far it is to cross over. I don't know. But anyway. 2, there are some crazy-ass people who are really crazy who were trying to elbow their way into the case with deliberate misinformation, and we know that's true. Not all of Steve's investigative efforts have been in vain. He had assembled a retinue of blue chip sources that he revealed to several friends, included an FBI agent in the St. Louis office who had shared his personal email so that his bosses in the bureau wouldn't learn that he was communicating with Steve. Yikes. See, that's the kind of thing that, like, probably shouldn't be in this article. That's gonna get that FBI agent in some fucking shit. And I don't even know if that would get Steve in trouble, because not cool. Like, not cool. I mean, it's cool that it happened. It's cool that he has, like, a sympathetic friend in the FBI that's trying to help him like that. But this reporter shouldn't have fucking told people about it. Like, that's not cool. Also a handful of additional sympathetic law enforcement officers, and most helpful of all, now this part, it really blew my mind. Most helpful of all, a conduit to 2 of the grand jurors who had been on the panel that voted to indict Bryan Kohberger, and in the process he had compiled some startling revelations, hard-won information that he triumphantly disclosed to his newfound internet associates. Okay, are you ready for this? This is crazy. This is the part that, like, really, I was like, holy shit. Because, A, are those people in the grand jury supposed to fucking be talking? I don't think so. The whole gag order, they're not supposed to say anything, I don't think. And it's not just one of them, it's 2 of them. So how many people are on a grand jury? I don't even know. But, like, wow. And, okay, so this is what he found out from them. Kohberger had purchased a dark blue Dickies long-sleeve work uniform at the Walmart in Pullman, Washington, not long before the murders. The authorities had a copy of the $49.99 receipt, and they now had a theory to explain how Kohberger had managed to escape from the crime scene without a scratch and without leaving an incriminating drop of blood in his getaway car or his apartment. He had worn the work uniform during the murders, then a disrobe before he got behind the wheel of his Elantra for his circuitous drive back to his apartment. Perhaps the authorities hypothesized he had stuffed the work suit into a plastic garbage bag and shoved it into his trunk. Now that makes a lot of sense. They're talking about one of those, alright, so my ex-boyfriend, he was a manager of a car wash, and it was freezing cold here in Jersey over the winter, and he worked through the whole winter in the freezing cold. And when we were looking at Walmart for like warm shit for him, you know, shit to keep him from freezing his ass off while working, we were in Walmart, and they have those Dickies and Carhartt, like, they're like mechanics wear them. They're like onesies, kind of like jumpsuits. Like, you step into them and they snap up the middle, and they're real thick material, like insulated, like quilted sort of. So like if he had one of those on, they cover your whole body, and like a either a ski mask or like a, but what are they called, balaclava, like where it's like your whole head except right here is covered. Yeah, like, dude was head to toe covered. His hair's not gonna fall out because he has it completely covered. He's got like insulation, so even if the knife slips, it's not gonna cut through it. And if he's covered in blood, as long as he takes that off, puts it into something like a trash bag, it's not gonna transfer. He's not gonna get a drop of blood in the car or in his apartment. When he made that ridiculous drive back to Pullman, he could have stopped anywhere along the way to ditch the murder weapon and the outfit. And that's my theory. Because, yeah, like, I've been saying to myself ever since they did that big ass search and they released, like, was like 180 something pages they released of like a list of everything that they found, like between the car and the apartment, and there was nothing. There was no blood, and they didn't find the knife either. Like, it was crazy. Like, all they found was that receipt, and it did say Walmart like $50, and it was some sort of like Dickies like item. So I imagined in my head like one of those, you know, like those winter overall things. That's what I was picturing. But now I'm picturing that full body, because I remember looking at them with Anthony when he was working in the car wash, because we were trying to find like stuff that would keep him super warm, because he had to be outside in like the freezing cold and also like getting wet because of the car wash. So yeah, I remember looking at those, and I remember looking at them in Walmart. Yeah, so there was no sign of the Dickies outfit. The police had looked high and low. They couldn't find it, just as they couldn't find the murder weapon, but they had the receipt for the K-bar knife. We've never heard that before. He had purchased it online. We did hear, like, little rumblings about Amazon, but it was never confirmed. Now we know. Months before the killings, but this too had seemingly vanished. And as long as these two crucial pieces of evidence remained unavailable, Steve feared the building case against Kohberger would remain more open than shut. And he's right. Even more troubling. Now this, oh man, this part. Wow. Even more troubling, if true, was what Steve had learned from the people who had spoken to members of the grand jury who had all been presented with the prosecution's case. It centered on the alleged behavior of the two roommates who had miraculously survived the night unscathed. How, he wondered, could they have slept, blissfully unaware, through the savage pre-dawn stabbing murders of 4 people in a narrow house with paper-thin walls? Right? Like, this is what we've all been saying since day one. They had to have fucking heard something. And they did, because we, like, in the probable cause affidavit, we know that Dylan actually saw him. But later, a police affidavit revealed that one of the survivors, Dylan Mortensen, had in fact heard noises and left her room only to spot a masked, darkly clad intruder making his way through the residence before she retreated to her room and did not summon help for another 8 hours for reasons that have never been revealed. This shit pisses me off so bad. And we better hear an explanation from those girls at the trial. They better both get up on that stand and they better both explain themselves, because that is so fucked up. They should have called 911 right then and there. As soon as that fucking guy walked out the house, they should have called 911. Nope. They went to sleep? Come on. Steve had been told the 2 survivors allegedly had not only been awake while the killings had taken place, but that they had heard everything. More astonishingly, the grand jury sources alleged that the 2 girls had been texting one another as the murderer methodically went from one room to the next. The possibility that 2 people had a sense of the horror while it occurred and had not acted, neither calling neither friends nor 911, left Steve floored. And no less confounding, they had, if his sources were as knowledgeable as he believed, then let hour after hour tick away before they finally decided to summon friends. It added an entirely new band of mystery to a crime that was already bound by unanswered questions. You see what I'm saying here? That's fucked up. And those girls, they better explain themselves, because, like, I have all sorts of shit going through my head. Like, do they, like, fucking know Bryan? Does one of them, like, know him? Like, we know that there's no connection between him and the victims, except the whole liking Maddie's Instagram posts or something, or, you know, we've even heard that he was messaging one of them and they weren't answering, and my guess is Maddie. Like, my theory in my brain, what I've been thinking ever since the beginning, was that he went in the house that night. Sorry, my nose ring is bothering me. He went in the house that night because he wanted to rape and murder Maddie. That's what I think. I think that he had been following her on Instagram. She had been paying him no attention. He may have even instant messaged her or direct messaged her on Instagram. Like, he had liked like all of her photos. But I believe, because they also said, like, in the beginning, I can't remember who said it, like maybe Jennifer Coffindeffer or somebody said that they had, one of them had messages from Bryan that they never responded to, like, hey, what's up, hey, what's up, hey, what's up, over and over and over again, and they never replied. I think it was Maddie. I think he probably stalked her at her work because he could see where she worked on Instagram. I think he probably, like, went there for, like, vegetarian pizza or some shit, and he, like, stalked her there. He may have even seen Xana. Then he went and he would stalk the house, because, remember, like, the affidavit also says that 12 times he was pinging off the tower there from just fucking sitting there, like, probably sitting behind the house, looking in the windows, because we all know it's bright as fuck. With all the lights on, you can see right into, like, Maddie's bedroom. And, you know, Kaylee had already moved out, so I don't think it was her that he was after. I don't think he anticipated Ethan being there either. He probably thought it was just the 3 girls. Maddie, Xana, oh, I'm sorry, the 4 girls. Maddie, Xana, Bethany, and Dylan. I don't think he expected Ethan or Kaylee to be there. And I think originally he went in and he went right upstairs. He went right to Maddie's room because he wanted her. And I think the reason why Kaylee's wounds were so much worse was because he killed Maddie first, and I think she was sleeping. And I think that woke up Kaylee. And because Kaylee's mom said, I think on the Drunk Turkey show, she said that Kaylee was trapped because she was on the inside of the bed. The bed was up against the wall, and Maddie was on the outside. Kaylee was on the inside, so she was like trapped between Maddie and the wall. And her wounds were the worst of all of them, I believe. And then, so I think he was pissed off that they were together in the first place. He had to kill them both. And then after he left the room, he went downstairs. I think he bumped into Xana and Ethan because they just got their DoorDash. And that's just what I think. I think they were, an accident. Okay, so after some digging, Steve grew convinced he had the informant. Wait. Oh, okay. Sorry, I skipped a paragraph. That's why I'm like, what? So Steve intensified his efforts to get answers, and in that dogged process, he came to believe that the government must have a protected source, an informant who could provide testimony that would tighten the screws that held together the case against Kohberger. Steve was determined to talk to them. He did not want to wait for the trial to get the knowledge he needed. For his peace of mind, he needed relief now. And after some digging, he grew convinced that he had the informant in his sights. He was preparing to reach out to the individual, to get right in his face and confront him. He would explain that he was empowered by a father's natural right to understand fully the last moments of his daughter's life. In fact, it was his duty. It was an argument he felt that no one could reject. And at last, he would know the whole story of what really happened to Kaylee and why. But before he could make his move, before he could get in a room and have a heart-to-heart talk with the witness, he was unexpectedly stopped in his tracks by the FBI. Yo, what? That's where my head just exploded. I was like, I gotta make a video, because that is fucking crazy. Again, I'm sorry this video is long. It's already at 37 minutes. I'm gonna try and wrap it up. So the FBI sent a letter to Steve's attorney in Moscow, that guy Shannon Gray that we keep seeing, and the letter warned that if there were any attempts to contact the individual that Steve had been pursuing, there would be legal consequences. The witness had originally reached out to the authorities through a tip line that promised to protect the identities of anyone volunteering information, and the Bureau was duty-bound to honor that commitment. And the letter went on to make clear with intimidating force the fact that Steve was the father of one of the victims gave him no dispensation from the legal consequences that accompany tampering with a government witness. Boom. There's an informant. An informant, you guys. There is somebody who called in on the tip line and gave them more information, what they needed to know, and it wraps everything up. It explains those fucking roommates that are so shady. At first, I gave them the benefit of the doubt. I really did. I was like, they're scarred for life. It must be so horrible what they went through. Yada, 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 right? But this just pisses me off. They heard it. They heard it happening. They were texting each other while it was happening. Oh, did you hear that? Can you imagine what these text messages must say? Did you hear that? Was that a scream? I heard Xana crying. Bro. And then they just fucking go to sleep? No! You dumb little bitches. Get off your asses and call 911 like a normal fucking person. I'm just pissed. Pissed. Alright. Moving on. I want to talk quickly about this stupid Newsweek article. It is so dumb, you guys. Let me see. I apologize. I've got to switch over to it. Okay. Yeah. So, it's titled, "The Missing Bryan Kohberger Evidence That Could Make or Break the Trial." Yeah. This article's so stupid. Yeah, it says that the knife sheath was, left in the bed. The Police speculate the killer may have been startled to find two women in the bed, and Gonsalves may have put up a fight during which the killer was slightly injured and dropped the knife sheath in confusion. A housemaid downstairs, frozen with fear, saw a man wearing a COVID mask. No. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he said that it was a COVID mask, which, no, it wasn't. More likely, it was some sort of ski mask. It probably wasn't the one that just has the eyes, because then the eyebrows wouldn't be protruding. I think it was one of those balaclava types, which is, it goes over your head and it has, like, all of this is exposed. You can see, like, this. So that would be the eyebrows and the eyes, because Dylan specifically said bushy eyebrows. And if it was one of those ski masks that are like this, you wouldn't be able to see the eyebrows. So I believe it was one of those. And I also said, I think it was one of those Dickies with the snaps that he had on. And he was probably holding the knife in his hand when he was walking out, because he didn't have the sheath. Where else would he have it? You know? So, seeing that dude coming towards you, walking past you and out the door of the slider, like, how are you not going to call 911? How are you not, how are you just going to go in your room and go to sleep? I don't understand that. Does Dylan know Bryan? Does Bethany know Bryan? There was also, like, some whispers that, remember when they were talking about how Bethany has exculpatory evidence? Maybe, like, people were saying that she saw a naked guy outside her window or something. I don't know about naked, but the cops are saying that Bryan took that off, you know, before he got in his car. I don't think he got naked, though. That's weird. I don't know. Like, that's probably not true. We have to wait until trial to find out these little details, but, like, those articles gave some crazy information. Like, I can't believe. Nuts. Yeah, I can't. So crazy. But, yeah, so that's pretty much what I wanted to go over with these two articles. I will leave both of the links in the description box at the bottom here, so that you got, or, you know, so you can, if you want to read the whole articles yourselves, you can. Yeah, crazy, right? Like, can you believe it? It's just, oh my god, those roommates. I don't know, you guys. What do you think? Comment if you want. Let me know what you guys think. Because I'm curious, honestly. Like, I really do want to know what you guys, if you think that, what do you think about the Dickies thing? Do you think it was one of those, like, winter things where it's like a you know, like overalls? Or do you think it was like a full coverall thing like you see the mechanics wear? Like Michael Myers wears. There you go. That's a good example. Michael Myers wears one of those. It's like a jumpsuit with the buttons, you know, and then, yeah. That's what I picture, even with the knife. Wow, I never made that connection before, but in my brain just now, that's what I'm picturing, Michael Myers. That's crazy. But yeah, so yeah, I'm curious what you guys think, and also, like, holy shit. There's also some stuff that's come out recently that's really pissing me off about the Delphi case as well, and I'm gonna try and make another video about that probably tomorrow, because this is gonna take me 105 years to edit anyway tonight, although maybe not, because I don't have to, like, add a lot of pictures or anything, but yeah. So anyway, let me know what you think, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.